Is 3D modeling still worth it? Is creating art still worth it now that we have AI? And I receive messages now and then asking similar versions of these questions, and I do get it. We all have bills to pay, so it is worth asking. But the real question isn't, is the 3D worth it? I would say it's more like, what kind of an artist do you want to be known for? And I would also say that the good news here is that you are in control of creating what you believe is worth making. So, for example, do you want to be known for clean topology or clean UVs? Do you want to be known for how well you execute assigned tasks or directing your own creative vision? Any profession, I would say here, being it 3D or not, is worth it if you care about impacting someone's life with your work. So it's worth it if you believe that you can bring your own voice, your own point of view, and just generally help people through the results you created for yourself. And even if you think that AI makes 3D less viable, AI is still going to disrupt every industry, so there's really no way of avoiding it. And the thing is, everything you start, so even if you, let's say, quit on 3D, quit on creating art or whatever, it's still going to be a hard start, whatever you do. So if you love creating art, for example, you're going to find it much easier to push through challenges in a field you actually care about than the field you don't. Because whatever you're a beginner, nervous about, let's say, starting 3D, or maybe even mid-level intermediate artist, wondering if this path is still a viable path, I would say that there's still some necessary things to know, and that is that every industry will face the same instability sooner or later, if not today, maybe tomorrow. And I know this because my wife lost her job due to AI, and she lost her writing job due to AI. And we launched her own business and she's still writing. The thing is also that today you have access to resources that let you become more capable in 1 month than you would been, let's say, in a year, 10 years ago. And same thing applies to me. And from my own experience, I can tell you that how I got clients 5 years ago is completely different from how I'd approach it today. The same thing if I'm browsing, let's say, through comments on YouTube or X, doesn't really matter, or just have, let's say, general discussions with my friends. The most common opinion is, well, AI is only a tool, so you'll just adjust or just add it to your workflow. It's kind of like not a big deal. But the thing is it really just a tool like any other? Because Maya is a tool, Blender is a tool, even a pen, we can say it's a tool, because tools have no inherent direction and they have no world of their own. And AI behaves less like a traditional tool and more like a probability environment. So it's more like an ecosystem you step into and you just collaborate or exchange ideas with. So you have a question, you get an answer. So this is very different from how tools usually function. So when you use a pencil, you're the one who's actually guiding that pen. These are your decisions, this is your hand, this is your artistic sense, and your observations are the guiding force. And every brushstroke has purpose. But when you use AI, you're just entering its own probability algorithm. So you're participating in patterns and training data. So you're working with, let's say, what is most statistically likely. So in the end, you are either being directed or you are the director. And this is not a typical tool behavior. So if you bring no intention to the process, AI can also overwhelm you with its own average trained defaults. And Brush cannot really do that. And AI, if you let it, can redirect you if you're not clear on where you are actually directing it or in which direction you want it to go. Now, I see AI as a mirror or probability-based collaborator. Mirror in a sense that, let's say, it's reflecting the clarity of your own thinking back to you. So that simply means that clear thought can produce clear results and vague thought can only produce vague results. So if you're not sure about what you're asking, you're not really sure about the reply that you're getting. So the problem isn't really in using AI, since it is already kind of becoming the norm. Personally, I think that the problem is in letting AI replace and outsource your connection to creative reality. And the problem is, if the generated creative world becomes more appealing than the real creative one, because it simply lets you skip learning those hard things. And when anyone can generate, let's say, a character or 3D modeling in seconds, then the metric isn't longer just creating the image or creating the render. It's actually knowing what to create, knowing why it matters, and to whom it matters. And this is where the fundamentals can be your leverage. Because when people see, let's say, AI images or videos or whatever, they just assume that the value of an artist is lost. But the actual value or the value of an artist is not in the image or the video or renders they made. Everything you create comes either from your life, your meaning, your intention, or your own personal experience, and you grow with each new art project that you make. So that is the value. And here's more important thing, because if you're not connected to what you're creating, it's unlikely that anyone else will connect with it either. So fundamentals are still going to matter, and you cannot really direct what you don't understand. So just to give you an example, if you don't understand anatomy, you can't explain why a character feels anatomically correct or incorrect. And same thing is going to be if you, let's say, don't understand composition, well, then you cannot really direct a well-composed scene. AI essentially is trained on average and gives average results. If you want to be, let's say, the best at what you do or stand out from others, your standards will also need to be higher than that average. So if you want to, let's say, future-proof yourself, you're going to need to learn to break down complex tasks or complex topics for those who find them too complex. So in the end, being it AI or no AI, I would say that art is still a soul process. So its sole purpose is to share your expression, and remove the soul and you're left only with the process, which is repeatable, technical, algorithmic, or probability based. And for example, writing can help us clarify our thoughts, define our goals, sharpen our language, and strengthen the confidence in our own reasoning. AI can still generate words, but it cannot clarify that thinking for you. So you are going to need to become your own art director. So now you might be thinking, well, I'm not trying to be an art director. I just want to make cool and good 3D art. But here's the thing. Art direction is not just a job title or position. So it's more like a matter of mindset. So it's kind of like owning every creative decision in your work. It's knowing not just what you're making, but also why and who is it for. Because in this case, you should act as a self-directed art director. You should simply learn to communicate ideas. So like, I chose this silhouette because it communicates elegance, or I designed this world to feel vast, inviting, but again, selective, or I'm building my projects to develop a narrative-driven design style, whatever. So it doesn't really matter. The matter is that you will learn to express yourself. Same thing applies if you, let's say, do you create a weapon, or does that weapon fit into the story of your own world? Or would it be compatible maybe with Battlefield, Valorant, or even Destiny? That is going to be the difference between task-based and vision-based work. And another thing is that once you now hear these titles like Battlefield, Destiny, you probably already have in your mind a visual language of what we are talking about here. And when somebody hears your name, you actually want to have that same effect. So it's not just 3D modeler or that Blender person, but something recognizable, something more signature to your work. So in the end, what you do, how you present yourself, how you position yourself in your work is still a service. So just build it around a service you're actually comfortable providing. So in this sense, direction only means maintaining that high contact reasoning with the art or creation process, and remove that reasoning. And yeah, then only thing what you get is the image that blends it with other images that also lack reasoning, if that makes sense. So that means that starting from number one, document your process, document your thinking, not just your results. So if you started learning, or if you're just beginner, if you started anything, document the process, being it immediately on social media or initially just for yourself, but document everything and post it later or post as you go. And to anyone who's joining my class, I always recommend just share everything, and not because of me, but just to get into that habit or that mindset of thinking through your process and verbalizing your struggles, so you can actually see, let's say you can actually see for yourself where those struggles are and where those challenges are. So you can see them more visually. You're no longer just thinking about them. And the thing is that this practice trains you to think clearly about your work, and clear thinking and clear expression eventually are going to lead to clearer direction. Now, as for number two, I would say build stamina for long, complex projects. And this is also where most beginners either skip or completely ignore this, because in one way, it's going to be easy to start a character concept. You can start 5, 10 in 10 days. But what gets hard is finish a character, texture it, light it, place it in a world, and give it a narrative purpose, all while maintaining creative vision across weeks or months. So that's why this mental stamina is going to be really, really relevant. That ability to push through the uncomfortable middle, making decisions that are maybe uncertain. So that you learn making decisions under that uncertainty and just finish work that reflects your reasoning. And also just want to mention something else. If you quit something whenever things get hard, the only thing your mind remembers, or the only thing you train here, or the only habit you're building here is the habit of giving up when things get hard. And let's say looking for an easy way out, and then you just blend in with everybody else who's also looking for that easy way out. Number 3, I would say master fundamentals, because fundamentals are still going to be very, very relevant. Being a 3D modeling, drawing, anatomy, storytelling, writing, doesn't really matter because they're no longer just isolated skills, but more like a hybrid or integrated tools that are going to help you sustain that vision all across the longer project. So they're going to be the tools that in unison, kind of like together, are going to give you the ability to evaluate whatever the form is working, design with intention instead of hoping that just things accidentally click. And yeah, your ability to explain your ideas or verbalize your thoughts to others, not just to AI, and tell exactly what you need and for what purpose. Because in the end, your true creativity comes from the decisions that make your art stand out through your own observation, your own taste, your own style, your own intuition, and finally kind of like your own visual literacy. Become your own art director so you don't have to wait for someone else to define your direction. And future-proof does not mean that you have to master every single tool to keep up with the trends. Future-proof is about long-term thinking and just simply recognizing where your work can actually influence or impact others, making their creative process easier or their lives just less complicated. So your ultimate future-proofing strategy is just owning your vision, because a clarity-driven art director will always matter more than a task executing tool. So yeah, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to add anything else, feel free to use the comment section below, and hope you have a great day. And yeah, see you next time.